Here we are in the Times, April 21st, 2026. Shabana Mahmood tells heckler to F right off over Reform UK comments. So, Shabana Mahmood, currently the Home Secretary of the UK, responsible for policing, immigration, the justice system, things like that, possibly the only recognisable human left in the Labour Party. So let's see what happened. Shabana Mahmood told a quote unquote white liberal heckler to F right off after she was accused of aping Reform UK. The Home Secretary was heckled by a man who said he wanted to personally thank you for out-reforming reform during a live interview with comedian Matt Ford at a theatre in London's West End on Monday. Two other audience members chanted refugees welcome as he was removed by security. So, this refugees welcome thing, this is something you hear a lot from people who apparently enjoy infinity immigration. And the British electorate has literally never voted for mass immigration. So while refugees might be theoretically welcome in certain quarters, the evidence of every election, basically since universal suffrage, is unfortunately that refugees are not welcome. Mahmood told the hecklers she would not be put in her box and accused them of trying to delegitimize the perfectly valid concerns people have with high levels of immigration. This is the problem. There are the refugees welcome crowd, and there are people who have genuine concerns about what immigration is doing to the country. She said accusations were just a way of delegitimizing the point of view that I bring to the table. And it is amazing that the only person in the government who brings this point of view to the table is a Pakistani Muslim. This is probably a majority view in the UK, but in the Labour Party, which has a massive majority in Parliament, Shabana Mahmood does seem to be the only person who has this view, the only person who recognised that these people exist. My concern is she for real, or is she just saying this as a path to power? She has some views on her own identity, which are in the article later, so I'll come to them. The Home Secretary added it's also a way of delegitimizing the valid, legitimate views of millions of people in this country, including ethnic minorities. I did watch last week an interview on the BBC. There was a white reporter approaching a black man who was just sitting down in a restaurant having a coffee, and he asked the black man about immigration, and the black man just basically started going on a rant against immigrants. It was really funny, and the BBC reporter reacted physically. He was kind of repulsed by this person of color expressing views that many white liberals think that brown people shouldn't have. So, yeah, ethnic minorities often agree with the native population. There's just too much immigration. And also, you're trying to put me in a box, which includes a lot of people who think I don't even belong in my own country. Is she talking about Pakistan there? I'm just, that's why I said this individual can just F right off because I know I belong in my own country. You're not going to be able to do that to me. She said there was an aspect of racism to the claims. I do think there is that element of it, which is how dare you, a brown woman, say a thing that we white liberals think you're not allowed to say? Well, I'm saying it. Yeah, we are at the point where white people think they know what brown people think, and the white people who find, like in that BBC interview I talked about, some white people, when they find a black or brown person that disagrees with them, they just shout racism at them because they can't cope with the idea that people might disagree with them. Mahmood added, I'm not going to let a tin pot racist or some random heckler or anybody else claw away at the foundations of who I am as a person. I'm a proud English woman. I'm a proud Brit. I'm a hugely proud Muslim. That is the absolute core of my life. And this is where my concerns with Shabana Mahmood come in. Is she for real? Which is more important to her in the end? Seeing herself as English and a Brit, or seeing herself as a Muslim? Because Muslims don't believe in democracy. They believe in theocracy. They believe in religious government. And English, British people are in the Western tradition. They believe in secular democracy. So she's kind of playing this game where she wants to appeal to the native population. And the native population of the UK are small c conservative on the whole, even if they want the NHS and the police and they want decent roads and public safety, they mostly want the government to leave them alone. And Shabana Mahmood seems to be integrated enough into British culture to understand that. But at the same time, if she completely abandoned her Muslim identity, that would cause more attacks from the political left. So, how can I put this? She kind of exists in this one or zero state. I mean, personally, I don't think you can be a good Muslim and a Westerner. I just think the values of the two things are different. In that sense, like personally, I don't think that Westerner and Muslim identity in the long run can be reconciled in a ideologically consistent way. So my personal concern is, which side is she really on? What does she really want? Does she want Britain to be a Muslim country, or she want it to be a secular democracy? But maybe I think that's something we'll find out as time goes on. The Home Secretary also admitted that she was frustrated at Labour's lack of process in government and blamed it on the party's own goals. She told Ford's Political Party podcast at the Duchess Theatre, we ourselves in the Labour Party are getting in our own way. The Labour Party's problems are such that I don't think there's going to be any Another Labour government. I mean, the working class that Labour was based on, they've either gone to the Greens or they've gone to Reform. Like I say, the working class are small c conservative. So they've abandoned the Labour Party. And the middle class, urban identity politics morons, they're mostly going to the Greens. I mean, if things carry on as they are, it's difficult to see there'll be another Labour government after 2029. Ford posted on X after the show that Mahmood had handled being screamed at by two posh yobs with total composure. He added, "Thank you to the rest of the audience who came along and behaved." Interesting. He says they're posh, so middle class, upper class, pro immigration. That makes sense. That's the normal thing. The kind of people who don't have to live around immigrants and cultures that are committing certain types of crime, shall we say. Mahmoud is overseeing what she has described as the biggest overhaul of immigration reforms since the Second World War. They include plans to end permanent protection for refugees, who will instead have their asylum grants reviewed every 30 months and forced to return home once it's safe to do so. I mean, that's just common sense. Why doesn't that happen already? Refugees will not be able to bring their family to the UK until they can afford to live self sustainably. Again, perfectly. I mean, refugees bring benefits, right? They're not a financial drain, so that seems totally reasonable. Refugees will only start to qualify for permanent settlement after 20 years. 20, why not 30? Why not want to add another 10 on there? Mahmoud has also doubled the time it takes for foreign workers to gain permanent settlement in the UK from 5 to 10 years. Again, seems totally reasonable. I mean, just 5 years to permanently access one of the 10 biggest economies on earth. That's incredibly generous. I mean, 10 years, again, why not 15? She added, what some people in politics are not able to fully compute and conceive of is that out there in the country, there is so much anger about the broken system that we're in danger of losing public consent for having a refugee system, full stop. Again, why is a Pakistani Muslim the only person in the government who understands what the native population feel? Why is a Pakistani Muslim the only person in the government who is honest enough about identifying these problems? The element of it, which I think is to do with my race and my background, is this sense that people have an expectation of what people like me should think if you don't stay within the box. What I always come back to is that you can't take away from me who or what I am. So here she's basically using identity politics against the people arguing for lots of immigration. So, yeah, Shabana Mahmood, she's an interesting figure, definitely. She's the only person in the government, in the Labour government, who comes across as human and normal. It's a very bizarre situation. Thanks for watching.